Hey everybody, welcome to Camel City Chat. I'm John McPherson, and I'm here with, I can say this, my friend Brooke Cashion.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. We've talked about this for a while, but this is the new studio. So I've moved down to the second floor, and I don't know if you know this. This actually is my office, and we'll do this in the corner here.
Okay.
But this has some pretty high honor in it. Do you know whose office this was? This was Lewis Hubbard's office.
I was going to say this. Yeah, I was going to say maybe Lewis's office.
Lewis's office, then Beverly's office, and then Carol Hudson was in here for a little while.
It's a good office.
Yeah, so I've asked Beverly if I can have like a picture of Lewis, because and I don't know, you can't see it from here, but the white, see that white thing up there? That's my grandfather was a realtor, and that's an article about him. He was Rookie of the Year when he was in his 70s.
Oh.
So I'll show you that.
That's fantastic.
But you are you're a machine. I mean, I'm sorry. We got to talk about that. I want you to tell people out there how you do some of the things. Like, you change your voicemail every day. You do different stuff like that. Yeah, I had to get a billboard because you had a billboard. I mean, all these different things. Probably the greatest thing that we have in common is, how the heck did we get these two daughters?
Grace. I mean, I tell people all the time, not getting what you deserve, right? That's the definition of grace. So, yeah, grace.
So we're going to talk about all of that. But first, where are you from, and how long have you been in Winston-Salem area?
Yeah, so I am from the Kernersville area. I grew up there. My grandmother, I actually lived with my grandmother and my mom and dad when I was a kid in Kernersville. Grew up in a little trailer park, a little narrow street. My grandmother owned, her lot. She owned her mobile home. She worked at Adam Millis darning socks and doing some other stuff and hosiery mills. And we were living with her because at the time my dad was working in Alaska on the pipeline with my uncle and my grandfather.
Getting that money.
Well, it was just, they were building the Alaskan pipeline, and they just drove up there. The men did, and they worked. And, the impetus was that my dad would come back and have money for a down payment on a house. They used Piedmont Federal for their first house. Their interest rate was 17%. But yeah, we lived with my grandmother during that time, and when I was 5, my parents felt like Davie County schools were a better option for them because they couldn't afford to send me to Forsyth Country Day, which is what our pediatrician had recommended.
Right.
And they bought an 1870s farmhouse at an auction. There's still articles about it, and my parents have lived out there in Farmington and worked on that house for the past 40 years. So yeah.
Still working on it too.
It's a labor of love. Like I keep telling them, I'm like, you don't need 5,000 square feet. And then my dad's like, oh, you're going to take me out of here in a pine box because I've worked too hard on it. This is home.
I understand.
And they just finished a bathroom remodel. So like,
all right, and I want to come back to a couple things that you said there, and we'll do that. But now the next place is what's your favorite place to eat?
Oh God, John, I love to eat. Like I love to cook. I love to eat.
Yeah, you okay? So if I'm sick of some of your posts. Okay, my wife's got a. Oh, look what they've. Oh, yes.
I love to cook.
Thanks.
So yeah, and I only really get to do it now when we go to the mountains and have people up.
And what's the name of the mountain it's called?
We call it the Empty Nest, and it's
Nest.
in Meadows of Dan. Yes.
Right. Close enough to the what's the Black Dog place?
Chateau Morset.
Chateau Morset.
We were there
Close enough
weekend.
to be
5 miles.
safe. Right.
Yeah, 5 miles. So yeah, I enjoy cooking. But restaurant-wise, we're so fortunate in Winston to have so many good restaurants. But I would say like the one that's just always solid is Moselle's.
Moselle's is good. Yeah.
It's always solid. Jennifer does a nice job over there.
Yeah. And you're in Kernersville most of the time too, so you got Jake Peppers.
Prescott.
What's the how is that in the little Italian place is decent, isn't it?
Yeah, Giada's. They
yeah.
just opened for lunch, which they were before COVID, and then they quit. And they just opened back up, and they're doing like a salad bar and pizza buffet, and I think that'll be a nice addition for lunch in Kernersville.
All right. And then what's your favorite thing to do now? I know you guys like to go up there, and so you're if you guys don't know, you live in you live in an Airbnb now, right? You sold your main house, you sold your family home.
Our family, yeah.
And then moved into your Airbnb.
We did.
Right.
We moved in October. We'd owned that as an Airbnb for 5 years. It had already been remodeled. The kitchen was not conducive to what I like to do.
Right.
So we spent a couple of months having Wisteria Construction, Brittany Venable, doing the kitchen, took out a wall, made a much nicer, bigger kitchen, and we stay there, during the week when we're working, and we try to get to the mountain house on the weekends.
And then go to the Empty Nest, and then there's one other place you go up near D.C. I can't remember what the name of that place is.
Annapolis.
Annapolis,
yeah.
To see Matt.
Is this a show about Maddie? Because we can talk.
The flag's right there. When do you want to start? Yeah. So, and then, what do you guys like to do around here?
Sure. So, I mean, I feel like I work a lot around here.
Right.
And I mean, work is good. And it's, you see people like you and talk about Philip. I was just on the phone with him.
Right.
So I really enjoy what I do. But when we're here, Jake and I are like total old people. We've bought these little picker-upper things. And when we go on our walks at night, we walk uptown and pick up trash. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, we're a martyr. But like, it makes the walk so much shorter. And it's the same walk every night. And I think looking for trash is kind of like a scavenger hunt.
So you live in downtown Kernersville.
DTK.
DTK, right?
Yeah.
And you have the reachers.
We do.
Yeah.
Jake carries the bag. We each have reachers, but we figured out he carries the bag, I do the reacher.
Okay.
But yeah, it started with like there were masks all over. And every time I'd walk in the mornings, I'm like, this is gross. And I had nothing to pick it up with. So I was like, you know what we should do? We should just start like picking up trash.
And so I'm assuming you guys head up towards Senior?
We do. So we do. We go to the movies. We sponsor movies in the gardens. So
Right.
they do those. There's always music that they have there.
Their Christmas thing, holy crap.
It's amazing.
I know, and you were just like making fun of me when I'm like, this is awesome.
No, well, I thought it was
Yeah.
just like, and I live there, and I thought it was just like the one little English garden.
Yeah.
And when we got back into there, and we took my mom and dad and Maddie and her boyfriend, and I was like, this is incredible.
Right.
So we do stuff there. We go up to the Brewer's Kettle. They do like a brewgrass jam on
Right.
Monday nights, where it's like 20 or 30 people do pick up bluegrass, which is fun. We go up to KBC. I mean, I feel like all this is saying like I end up with a beer in my hand.
Yeah.
Go up to the Prescott, but just walk around town. I mean, the dog likes to get out, and we haven't really explored the other direction because that's more like the commercial side.
Right, yeah, that's heading back towards
Yeah.
Lowe's and all that
Right.
stuff. Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, so I want to go back to something that we've talked about several times, and that is what drives Brooke, because you are you're easy to be around. You represent your clients well. You're of course an agent with Alan Tate. You sold your Red Door Realty to Alan Tate. Was it been 10 years?
2007. It's been 15 years.
15 years.
The
I saw
anniversary
it.
was this month.
That's
Yeah.
right. I couldn't remember if it was 10 or 15. So thanks. So 15 years, and that was big. And your husband at that time was working for
He was working at the
local Chamber of Commerce, right?
He was with Winston, and
then he went to.
He did. He went to the North Carolina Chamber.
And so he has all these contacts, which is great, and he doesn't really care at all about economic development.
Zero.
I mean, just zero.
Don't ask him about transportation.
Yeah, don't ask him about any of that
economic
stuff.
Development. No.
Something else we have in common. How can our spouses be so freaking smart?
It makes me question
Yeah.
their sanity. Actually.
Yeah, I mean, Jake,
I ask him all the time, how does he put up with me? I literally 2 days ago, I don't understand how you put up with me.
I mean, just they're brilliant, and like, and I'm like, Jake, just pause. Hey, come here, hear this, because it's like,
It's a wealth of information.
Yeah.
It was the same with like unemployment insurance. It was the same with, they did some stuff with, like I said, transportation and stuff. And really, no, when he gets into it, he does a deep dive. He does a good job.
So when we are both real involved with the Realtors Association and really try to be involved with the political side of things, purple. And when you and I were talking, we go to these events, but Lou was with me. And Lou Baldwin's standing there, and this lady's out protesting something, and he starts talking to her, and I'm like, oh my God. And by the time they were done, she goes, I can agree with your opinion.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep mine, but I can agree with, and I'm like, and that's such a Jake too. Jake
I was going to say, so that's not me. Like, I'm not that savvy.
I'm like, what is your problem?
No, I'm not that savvy. Like, our neighbor came over last night, and bless him, like, we got into this conversation, and Jake goes, Brooke, you're getting really loud. I was like, I'm just passionate. I'm like, but Jake, like, every time, our neighbor would say something, Jake would be like, so tell me more about that. I mean, it's nice to have somebody to help you work through.
Do you think you do some coaching on that?
Yeah, I mean, he needs it. I think we could all use some Jake wisdom. Yeah.
So what I want to ask you is this, and that is, you are so driven. You mentioned that you grew up in a trailer, and you've always said every time I've been with you, I'm not going back there, John.
Lord
I'm not
willing.
going back there.
I mean, you never know, but Lord willing, yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of love there, but you'd prefer something else.
Absolutely.
So tell me what drives you and gets you to where you are today.
So, I mean, I think it goes back to, you have a child.
Yep.
You want to be able to set a good example for that child. You want them to, like, understand what hard work is. I think, I'm not throwing, like, this generation that's coming up under the bus, but I think...
But no, Stabler needs to hear this.
I just think it's important that, there's so many people. I mean, right now, 30% of our workforce in North Carolina that's eligible to work is not working.
Right.
And it just makes me wonder, it's not about, like, if, of course, you have a disability that's different, or if you're unable to be employed because of an illness. But to me, work brings purpose in life. And if you're doing what you should be doing, that purpose should be very rewarding. And if you're good at it, you should get compensated at that level. So I always wanted Maddie to see that, hard work pays off, and that if you dream something, you can get it. I mean, Jake and I laugh, when we met each other at NC State, we met at a Jimmy Buffett concert. Like, we had no reason to, we had nothing going on. And, he was in landscaping, and I didn't know what I wanted to be. I was in videography, thought I wanted to be a news anchor. And I just remember thinking, we'll never live outside of this, And then real estate was the venue where, you look around even right now outside of your office, it's all product we can sell. There's all these people with needs, and they have issues that need to be solved, and I love solving problems. I'm not the person who's like, oh, sorry, dead end. Let's figure it out. But yeah, I can be intense. You know this,
We've done deals.
Yeah. I think intensity is important. I've had to totally step down off some of that over 22 years. But
well, and see, I think that's one of the things that when you and I banter back and forth, we are representing our clients. I think where people get the problem is well, here's what we want to do. I'm like, when did you become a party to this transaction? I hate that line.
And I always try to use with people, I'm like, the buyer's asking for or the seller's asking for, not
my clients,
my buyer,
right?
My seller. I just don't think that's productive language because it immediately pits you on sides.
Right.
And our job as brokers is to bring the deal together and make sure that everybody's treated, in a legal and fair manner. And, if they have issues, that we help them to understand what reasonable expectations are. And yeah, there's great agents in this market. And then, there's people that I'm like, you should probably go sell shoes. I don't know. It can be frustrating.
Well, sell anything. It has, and this is something you and I've talked about, it has almost a minimal amount of money to get involved in.
In education.
And minimal education, and it is most people's greatest asset.
Correct.
Yeah. We ain't studying for the Series 7 here.
No.
It's, but,
I'd like to see a minimum of an AA, an associate's degree.
Right.
I'd like to see, time where somebody like an appraiser used to be. I know they're trying to change that, but I'd like to say, instead of this provisional brokerage, that someone has to do 50 transactions underneath another broker.
Right.
You can't have firms that have, 400 agents in one BIC.
But you just saw the news that came out of NAR, I guess, the other day. The average realtor is 55. What are we? 60% women, I think is the number now.
Sounds right.
And the average realtor does 12 transactions a year.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing 12 transactions in Manhattan, kudos.
Yeah.
If you're doing 12 transactions here, you're making, probably barely minimum wage by the time you pull out your expenses.
Yeah, never look at the hours you put into it.
No.
But now, we're going to take a break. I want to get back to your philosophy, because I think that you have a great team and how you motivate your team to do better. I also want to ask you about retirement, because I just don't see that that's something that you really would ever be good at.
It is funny you say that. I actually talked to a friend about that this morning.
All right, so we'll be right back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. I'm John McPherson, and I'm here with Brooke Cashion of Allen Tate Realtors.
That's right.
Did you see that this week where it said
I thought you
what
said
hell
too.
is? Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. So
Realtors.
Yeah. So we were talking in the break and stuff about teams and stuff like that. Both you and I have teams. I think I'm on my third or fourth amalgamation of a team. It seems that you'll have people, they leave, then new people come in and stuff like that. But I've always been impressed with how you function. Obviously, what is Jake? Is he your broker? What? I know he's your pool boy. I know he's your serenader.
So the best way I know to describe what Jake does on our team is if you think of like the CEO of a company. So he's doing business development. He is doing all of our finances, taxes, investments, that kind of stuff. And then we have rental property, so he manages those. He sets our goals for the year. Again, he's more of like what I would call the CEO of the company, just setting like the big goals and making sure he does all the marketing.
He's the pro football team owner.
Yes.
And you are the
I'm
quarterback.
the recruiter or the quarterback.
No, you're the quarterback.
So then what I do is I'm
The
their sales-
multi-billion-dollar quarterback.
Right, I'm the well, who was it? Like
See,
Ben
that's the other thing that
Roethlisberger?
that's the other thing that we have in common with our spouses. We married very smart people, attractive smart people, but they obviously married for personality and beauty.
Oh, well, of
I mean,
course,
don't you
yeah,
think?
Absolutely.
I mean, absolutely, right.
No question, right?
Yeah.
But so he does that. I do sales, and then we have admin, and of course Jill has helped me with admin for 3+ years.
Right, and of course Jill's sister was on the show.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I love everything Kimberly touches. So
We're
yeah.
we're gonna try and do some team thing over there and
yeah.
like go in and like midday.
Can I be like an honorary guest?
You can. I think we can talk you into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Just
love
try not
that.
to recruit my team.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I mean, just to speak about like the ebbs and flows. Like I've had a team,
Right.
I've not had a team.
Right.
Like right now, it's just myself and Jake, and like I said, Jill's doing some admin. But I think you can function in any capacity.
Well, and the other thing is
It's a season, right?
Well, true. And as you and I both know, how many realtors are there in North Carolina now? We're almost to 60.
Yeah, but 4,900 didn't renew their license. Didn't take their CEs this year.
Okay.
I don't know what that means. Like I'm fascinated by it. 150,000 licensed brokers, 4,900 did not take their CE. I think that's a big number. I mean, it's not.
So we have a guy here that they told him he didn't have to take his CE wrongly because I guess he's a provisional broker or
and
something.
he had taken his 30 hours. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
something like that. But no. So it was fixed almost immediately.
Yeah.
But and see, people that's the other thing. That's you go in there and so all I do is take this test and now I'm a realtor. No. You got to take another 8 hours. Oh, and guess what? General contractors, another 8 hours.
Well, not only that though, you don't come out of a real estate course or the test having passed it, and you're not prepared to sell real estate. I mean, now you just know enough to be dangerous. Like it's just the law.
I've always said it's like a computer. They teach you how to turn it on.
Yeah.
They don't teach you how to use
The programs.
any of the
or-
programs
no,
or
no,
anything.
no. But I mean, I was fortunate. The first company I was at was Swice Goodwall McDaniel.
Right.
They were fantastic. I was there for a year. Thought I needed to be in Davie County, back
Right.
to where I grew up, because I thought that was my sphere of influence. So I was driving from Kernersville to Davie County every day. But they were great. But everybody there would sit down with you and teach you. But a lot of the larger companies have great training, and I think that's probably the best thing that they offer their agents is the training and staying on top of forums. And because I see some crazy stuff come through, and I'm like, y'all obviously did not even listen at your CE.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I try to get my CE early. It's about time for me to get mine. And the reason why is because if you wait too long, you're learning last year's stuff next
right.
year.
I had an instructor tell me recently that she's trying to petition the commission that if you're a broker in charge
You have to take it, what is it, 90 days?
or BIC eligible, that you have to have it by December.
I agree, yeah.
I think
forget
that
who-
makes
I
sense.
think we're talking to the same person.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah, and so, all right, so let's talk. So one of the things that you do that I don't think a lot of, you don't tout this one, is you're very good at what you do real estate-wise, but you're also very involved. Why be involved in your, hold on, should I put the ball there and go ahead and hand you the bat? Stand throw the bat. Why be involved in your industry?
So why not be? And if you're not, then who is? And to use like these cliches we hear over and over, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. But yeah, I mean, I have some controlling tendencies. Like, so I like to be involved to make sure. I mean, I can't complain about it if I don't have any input, right?
Right.
So like, I don't want to ever be the person that once the wheels are set in motion on something, I'm like, I hate this. Why did you do this? I want to be there to say, yeah, I don't agree with this, and put my 2 cents in and go through the process. But yeah, I mean, I think that volunteerism is so important. It's not only rewarding. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met Lou. I wouldn't have met Philip. There's so many people that I've met that are in the industry that have become dear friends, and only through that makes transactions easier. You're a wealth of knowledge. Like I said, I just got off the phone with Philip. I just got off the phone with another realtor, Jeff Jordan. I mean, we meet each other through these, and if you can't find something at our association especially that interests you, you probably really shouldn't be selling.
It's not like you're like on a boat fishing with a past state president, one of your buddies or anything.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It's, I mean, and I just found out the fish rodeo is the same day as they've now scheduled an exec meeting. And I'm like, ooh.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah.
But no, I mean, you're involved. You've been the president of the local association. You're running for a position now.
Yeah.
And you've been on the state board?
I have. I've been on committee chair. I'd like to do NAR Leadership Academy at some point. I did the State Leadership Academy, I think.
Right.
Again, I mean, I send a lot of referrals too across the state, and I receive a lot of referrals. And there's no way I'm going to put my client with a stranger. I mean, even if it is a stranger, I've always interviewed them before and stayed in touch with them and researched them. But yeah, I mean, think about how many awesome people we meet across the state that when you place that referral to, Beaufort and Cirilla's picking it up, that I actually know the quality of, business that she does. So again, I think it's a win-win.
I got a phone call the other day from Winston-Salem State, and they were like, "Hey, we've got someone coming in. Can you just give them a tour?" And I'm like, "Sure." And so give them a tour or whatever, and they eventually decided to go to another place, but they're like, "Oh, I got to sell my place here." And I'm like, "I've got somebody for you."
Yeah.
So I go on. You and I are both major investors, and I'm
right.
like, "Hey, who do you recommend?" Like, call this lady. It's the freaking state president of realtors, and we're on the phone chatting. She's like, "I got it," and calling her and everything, and it's.
Like you
How
said,
would I
mean,
know these people?
Fishing trips. We've taken 2 fishing trips now. Through our involvement, we go down, to do the President's Circle stuff. I mean, there's your trips, convention. I just think that it's sad to me that we have this organization that we pay into and people don't maximize its value.
Well, it bothers me because you and I were talking, before, and the only time I get to see you is at a convention. And, because I was doing National Leadership Academy, which you're going to do, please, I was involved in a lot of that stuff. This last time we were at the state thing, I'm like, yes, I can go.
Yeah.
And you were like, and then as soon as that happened, then somebody's like, well, what about this? I'm like, I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because we don't get a chance to see each other
Well,
here.
I mean, everybody's busy. And when you do have time, it's a little bit different for Jake and I because our daughter's gone and, we're empty nesters. But, when you have a small child, you do have to carve out time to get home and to do things. I think you do a great job of doing that.
Tell that to my wife.
No,
What do
I
think?
see all the projects that y'all do, and yeah, I think you do a great job. But it's hard to balance that, and so I think that people forget that. And they think, oh, I don't have any more time. But Maddie was such a part of the association growing up. I mean, Ted Kelly is one of her biggest advocates. You're one of her biggest advocates, Jenny Fulton. I mean, these people wrote her letters. These people, I mean, it's truly a family if you allow it to be. And why would you want to miss out on that?
And we're going to talk about that after this break because we need to talk about Maddie. We got to give her a little bit of dap, don't you think?
Let's blow her head up.
Yeah. All right, we'll be right back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. I'm John McPherson. I'm here with Brooke Cashion, Allen Tate Realtors, and we're going to talk about your favorite subject. So you have this daughter who I met, what do we think, around 5 years old?
I think 4 or 5.
So, I mean, I remember the house, so I guess you could go back and look. We could find the official house.
Probably.
Because it was right next to, Blue, you're never going to believe this. The young man I talked about is in the house next door to where I met Maddie. So Matt Nance and his wife were thinking about selling their house. It's Carter Nance that's up at the Naval Academy right now.
Oh, small world.
And I met...
Yeah, that's weird.
That's weird.
That's weird. That's actually kind of creepy.
We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
So we know that it's on, Harvest Pine, I guess. So you need to see when you had that one listed. And
that was my friends Mandy and Phillip.
right.
Yeah.
So whenever you had that listed, Maddie was in the back seat of the car, and you were picking up a sign or something. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And you're like, "Maddie, this is John. Hey." And so I mean, we're thinking 5 or 6 years old,
Yeah, it's likely.
right? And so then it's like she's hanging out around some of the stuff, and we're talking to senators or stuff. What's going on? What? How does that whole process go?
As far as getting into the Naval Academy, getting an appointment, gotcha. So 9th grade, she was just kind of interested. We were touring schools. My dad encouraged her to go and just look at the campus. We were on our way to D.C. for something work-related with Jake. Toured the campus. She's like, well, this is where I'm going. And I'm like, ooh, it's really hard to get into.
Mama don't like...
I was like, it's hard to get into. I was like, well, do you really want to do this? It's the military,
It had nothing to do with hard to get into. It's like, my daughter's going to be in the military. I don't know about that.
Yeah, and I just didn't really take it seriously, wrapping my head around it. I mean, I knew
Right.
she was a serious person, but I didn't take it
Yeah,
that
she's
serious.
like
'Cause
Jake
she was
serious.
looking at NC State. She was looking at Auburn, Clemson, SMU, all these schools. And so she got it in her head. That's what she wanted to do. And I mean, we could talk this, ad nauseum. But the thing that impressed me most is she had, good grades, of course. But physically, she's always been smaller. She's very athletic. I mean, always played soccer since she was 3. Captain of the soccer team. So she was very athletic, but smaller build. So she started working out with a trainer.
And
at a
those
gym.
freaking water bottles on your
Yeah.
back porch?
Yeah, but she started working out with an
Holy
Army
cow.
trainer, and her senior year or junior year, I can't remember. I think it was her junior year of high school before she had to do because they do a PT training, and if you don't pass it, that's one of your requirements to even get an appointment.
Right.
And so she worked out with this guy, and she would leave our house at 4 o'clock in the morning, go work out with him for an hour, come back home, shower, get ready for school, get there, do her work, do soccer practice afterwards, go back to the gym. I mean, she worked really hard, all the while I'm like laying in bed, like, oh, I cannot lose weight, I don't know, because you need to go to the gym. Like,
Oh my
so
gosh.
like she's in there just like humping it, and she was, physically she passed everything, and then she had her grades and she submitted application, all that was good. Then you have to get an appointment, so you meet with a board that the congressman selects, and there's like an interview panel. And so she met with them, and after it was all over, they were like, there was no doubt in her mind, like, you knocked it
But
out
didn't
of the
she
park.
get double appointed too?
She did. So Congressman Budd and Senator Burr.
Right.
So yeah, but she knocked it out of the park. And even when you get your appointment, then of course the Naval Academy has to look at it and accept you. And yeah, she got her call, and
So she's there. She's going to be a senior.
yeah.
I'm at a football game this year, and I'm going to hear her name. What's that mean?
So she's a battalion commander, and there's only 6 of them in the entire brigade. The brigade is 5,000 mids.
Right.
So yeah, so at the football game, she'll be in charge of her brigade. Now this is where I'd get lost. I can't remember how many companies that is,
Right.
but it's like a lot of people. I think it's like 600-700.
There's
people.
only 6 in the whole school,
yes,
and they report to one person.
correct.
Okay.
The head of the brigade.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, she'll walk out and they'll say, Midshipman Lieutenant Commander Madeline Cashion, Kernersville, North Carolina, and we're lucky because during Army Navy this year, it will be televised, of course, and she will be announced there, which I think is super.
You're
cool.
not going to tape
For
that at all, are
Kernersville.
you?
Oh, I'll be there, but yeah, I'll tape it too. Yeah. Don't you worry. It's a great game.
The glow-in-the-dark T-shirt, don't forget.
Oh, she loves that T-shirt, John.
Does she still have it?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
I think I have another one.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's like all reflective.
Yeah.
No, she gets some good stuff. People send her all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Marsha Barney's another realtor who sends her a ton of stuff.
So what about now? So she wants to be a Marine? Or we
She's
don't know?
considering Marine. So I tell
Does she
people
wanna
it's
fly?
like
What's she wanna
she
do?
does. She wants to go aviation. So she can go Navy or Marine Air.
Right.
Marine Air is more helicopters, Ospreys, that kind of thing.
Okay.
That's where I start having a little bit of a heart palpitation.
So my cousin's husband was a Marine helicopter.
Yeah.
Flew Air Force One for Ford, Nixon, and Carter.
Okay.
So that's a decent job.
Yeah, there's actually, we were talking about a gal recently who flew Marine One, and yeah, I think those are all possibilities. But I tell you, it was like match day at the hospital. She'll put in her top 3 preferences in August. They'll put in their top 3 preferences for her, and she'll find out, I think it's Thanksgiving around that time frame, where she'll end up, which community she'll be in.
You excited?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be fun to know. I mean, in a way, it's kind of sad because, she missed almost 9 months of her, plebe year because of COVID, and I'm glad that hopefully things will stay normal and she can commission, in public, and we can do the whole parties and stuff. But
So now when she leaves there, she will go somewhere else that may not be as easy of a drive, correct?
right, and
How are you going to be with that?
Well, I mean, to your question, we were talking about retirement or whatever, and selling the big house to go to the Airbnb. Part of the impetus was to have a place we could lock and leave, that if she ever needed us, if she decided to get married while she was in service, we could go somewhere and help her out and not
Right.
feel like we had a lot to maintain.
All right, so now we're going to talk about retirement and that, and then I want to go back to the Airbnb. So if I'm watching this and I'm thinking about becoming an investor in real estate, obviously I'm not going to say that they should call you or me. We're just going to say if they become an investor in real estate. What are some things that made you guys do the Airbnb? Do you have traditional rentals too?
No, so currently we live in the one Airbnb, and we are just finishing up, and somebody's moving in today, as a matter of fact,
Right.
to another. We're doing a short-term lease on it.
Okay.
So we really shifted during COVID from what we all think of as Airbnb, a couple nights here, one night, whatever. We shifted because Airbnb canceled all the reservations during COVID and gave everybody their money back. And so as a landlord, you're like, whoa, what just happened? But it was interesting because then the people that started renting again were your traveling doctors, your traveling nurses, VA, whatever. So it
Right.
started infilling. So it worked out great. And then the market got so robust that people would sell their house and have nowhere to go, or they were building. So we've started doing short-term rentals. And that has been really what our focus is. But we've always had rentals. We've bought them, sold them, flipped them, kept them.
I've talked to a couple people and it's like, well, what do I do with my house? I'm like, you could rent this thing for somebody that's building a house in
totally.
Brookberry or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and they're not going to make it.
Yeah. I mean, we enjoy it. And I mean, actually, people use it a little less hard than somebody who's doing like a year rental or 2
Right.
years or whatever. And it's fun to be an ambassador for the town. Like, people are typically living in a place they wouldn't live otherwise. oh, it's fun to live downtown and walk and,
A fraternity brother of mine's, his younger sister can work anywhere. So she's just, she's got it all, and she's got a Jeep.
Yeah.
She's got everything in like totes. And she just goes from, stored most of her stuff at her mom's.
Yeah, that sounds smart.
And she's like, now she's down in Asheboro. So she's like taking pottery classes.
Yeah.
She'll be there for a month, then
Oh,
she's
that's
back up
fantastic.
here. I think she's going to end up buying here. She saved a couple listings the other day,
Gotcha.
so I like
Gotcha.
that.
Yeah.
But she'll go to the beach and work there,
Yeah.
and she'll come. I mean, it's
That's
just
fantastic.
She calls. I guess she rents a couple nights and then contacts a person about possibility of short-term rental,
Yep.
and then
No, and I think if you're looking into investment, purposes for that, I think people think that that's easy money. I mean, it's definitely, it takes work too, like anything.
right. So you were your cleaning crew, correct?
So we were, when we
Right.
first started, Jake and Maddie and I would go and clean and flip, and then my aunt started helping us, which was a huge help. And then we actually found a cleaner who was local who would help us do it.
Okay.
Once we got everything rolling and established a schedule, that was better. But yeah, I mean, you just want to make sure you can continue to maintain the house. Like I see all too many people get rental property and then just turn into slumlords.
Right.
And Jake and I don't own property that we would not personally live in. That's always been kind of our personal mantra.
Right.
I'm not going to expect somebody else to live there if I wouldn't.
Okay.
So.
Good. All right. So tell me about this golden cage.
Yeah, I mean, I love real estate. I think real estate is fantastic. It's been a very, good career for me. I mean, you make good money in it. You can. And again, the sky's the limit. I've always liked that. I don't think I ever would have, thrived or survived in the corporate world where somebody said, this is as much as you're ever going to make. Like, that's not what motivates me, right? I always like going, ooh, let's do this, let's do this. But I think, too, it's hard to get out of it as far as, like, you talked about retirement. Showed me the sweet picture, of your grandfather. But it's one of those things, like, you can do it forever and ever and ever. And I've been selling for 22 years, and I love it. But at what point, we have very little opportunity in doing what we do. If you're in corporate right now, you might have already been asked to be on the training staff, or you might have been asked to do, a managerial role.
Right.
But you and I are not leaving this profession, but we're also doing the same thing. And we've been doing it for this, period of time. And unless we're out there, like I always try to do professional development in person, because if you're not growing, you can get stagnant very, very quickly, and you can feel caged in. Like, well, I guess this is what I'm doing until I die.
Right.
Like I told someone the other day, I was like, on my tombstone, it's going to say, her earthly listing has expired. She's moved on to the big closing in the sky. Yeah. Isn't that fantastic? And I really wanted to say that. Like, I want people to walk through, like...
And get the realtor logo.
I want people to walk through the graveyard and be like, what?
Get with the
Yeah,
realtor
yeah,
logo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Little
that'd be
QR code.
good. Yeah.
I think it'd be cool.
Check my current listings.
Have a picture of the pearly gates.
Yeah. So, before we go, it's funny that you would say that, because one of the things that I ask are two questions, and so the last question is, what do you want to be remembered for? So we'll come back to that one. But you have lived Moxville to Kernersville with that city. What's it, Winston-Salem?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. With Winston in the middle, and you've been here for a while. What do you think of what they're doing and how it's looked and the changes and stuff? What else do you want to see?
I feel very fortunate to be here. I mean, sometimes I laugh and say I'm 9 generations deep here. Like, my greats go back to 1740. They were Moravians, and we can trace them all the way back. So either I'm really, really smart that I've stayed right here, or I'm really, really dumb that I've never tried anything else. But when I do talk to my relocation clients, they're always like, no, this is the best place. Like, it's so great. Don't ever leave here. So yeah, I think Winston's done a great job. I think we have work that still needs to be done. I don't want us to be a Raleigh or a Charlotte. I think of us as kind of like a really good mix between like baby Asheville. Like we have this like art vibe. We have, this like these values that are kind of core values to our community.
Right.
I feel like we do a really good job respecting each other. We don't have the issues that some of the other surrounding cities have. So I think Winston does a really nice job. We've been fortunate to have Mayor Joines at the helm, which has given us continuity.
He's good.
Yeah, and he's given us continuity. And I think for the most part, the business leaders in the community, they put their money where their mouth is. They try to improve. But yeah, we still have work to do, for sure.
So what do you want to be remembered for, Brooke Cashion?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, all any of us could really want to be remembered for, I mean, this is kind of the Sunday school answer, is like just to have been like a good, godly person. I think that's important. My faith is really important to me. It's the only thing that keeps me like focused, because otherwise I tend to think I can do it on my own, and I've realized over the past several years that you have to control the controllables, and God's never let us down, and yeah, just surround yourself with good people and pray for the ones that aren't so good.
Good wife.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Yeah.
Mom, you can do okay with that, I guess.
I mean, I feel like
If that's a result of your parenting.
I don't think it had anything to do with my parenting. That child was raised by. I mean, that child was raised by my mom and dad, Jake's parents, my sister. I mean, it really a village raised her. I mean, all the real. That's what the other thing with people like moving around all the time and not being from where they're from or staying there is, there's no accountability for kids. So yeah, you can threaten your kid, to do well or whatever. But if Maddie doesn't want to let you down when she's out, or she doesn't want to let somebody else down when she's out, she ran into Lou at I guess one of the Wake Forest games. Walked right up, shook his hand. Like she knew she represented something bigger than herself.
Right.
And I think our kids sometimes don't get that because we don't provide them or allow the community to really be a part of their lives. So yeah.
Thanks for being my friend too. You're a
Thanks
pretty
for
awesome
being
lady.
my friend.
Yeah. And I appreciate you
like a
doing
kumbaya
this.
moment with John.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, we definitely need to get together soon. I know you and Catherine are Insta fans or friends or something. And but no, I really appreciate everything that you do for our community. Not only the community itself, but also our realtor community. And I'm looking forward to seeing you some more, and appreciate you sharing your day with us today so we could learn a little bit more about you.
This was fun. Yeah. All right.
And you know who Jeff Smith is, right?
Uh-huh.
Smitty's Notes.
Yeah.
I knew you knew
Yeah.
that. But Smitty's Notes is one of our sponsors.
Okay.
And
I knew Jeff way back in the day.
Way back
when
in
he
the
was
day.
doing like Smitty's Notes on like a newsletter that I used to have to read to figure out where I was going to go eat and do
Correct.
things. Yeah.
And then remember the Smitty's Dine with
Yeah.
8 or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's already full and all that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
I loved it.
Yeah.
He's done a great job for the community. That's another good one.
You need to apply for the National Leadership Academy. As much fun as the state was,
I
the
really
National
do.
is amazing.
I want to get past Maddie's commissioning and then
understand.
and then do that.
We will be back next week with more Camel City Chat.
Cool.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks,
Appreciate
John.
it.